It was about 2 in the morning, a cold October rain in the Appalachians, when our small convoy rolled off the highway and onto a two-lane that tunneled through trees. Two Humvees up front and rear, one LMTV in the middle, 8 of us total. I rode right seat in the lead truck, headset snug, watching the mile markers slide by. I counted them under my breath to keep the pace steady. The radio gave a soft squelch click every few minutes, the kind that feels like a throat clearing in a quiet room. Wet leaf mold and diesel hung in the air through the cracked window. We had orders to recover a stolen tank, and Abrams lifted out of a guard motor pool before midnight. It sounded like a straight grab, but the route we were given cut toward old mines, not toward town, and that was the first thing that felt wrong. Before we start the video, hit the subscribe button to support the channel. It only takes a second. Thank you. The call came just after dusk. I was still on base, halfway through maintenance checks, when the duty sergeant told me to gear up. A tank was missing from the 278th Armored Cavalry's motor pool outside Kingsport. An M1 A1SA, 60 tons of steel gone without a trace. Command said local law enforcement was already out searching, but we were being sent to secure the recovery. The idea of a stolen tank sounded impossible, but the orders came fast and clean. We were attached under a joint recovery tasking, 2 Humvees, 1 LMTV for towing support, 4 of us from active duty, and 4 from the guard. No heavy armament beyond rifles and sidearms. Rules were strict. We were to recover, not engage. The weather was closing in. Cold front moving through the ridges, low ceiling, mist hugging the hollows. Appalachia has its own kind of silence at night. You hear nothing for miles, then one sound repeats, echoing off rock and timber. That night it was the click of radio squelch in my headset, every few minutes, faint and even. I had started to notice it more as we moved south. The smell of wet leaf mold had crept into the cab, mixing with diesel fumes. That smell became a constant, like the place itself was breathing. The initial report said the tank disappeared sometime between 2100 and 2200 hours. Gate logs showed nothing. Cameras had gone dark due to a power surge. Whoever took it knew exactly how to move it. There was a missing lowboy trailer from a nearby depot, capable of handling that kind of load. That meant they had a heavy hauler, maybe even a chase truck. You don't move 60 tons unnoticed unless you plan every mile of it. We were briefed by a captain who looked just as puzzled as we were. He said the tank's GPS had been disabled, comms stripped, and transponders pulled. Our route would follow the last visual from a highway camera that caught a long flatbed crossing a county line. From there, it vanished into the dark folds of the mountains. The Appalachian spine is full of old coal roads and cutbacks, many unmarked, some not even on the maps. A tank could vanish up one of those and sit hidden for years. I rode next to Staff Sergeant Haynes, a man who had done 3 tours overseas and carried himself like nothing surprised him anymore. He kept the pace steady, watching the odometer, while I counted out loud the next grid square. Counting helps when you can't see past your own headlights. Each mile marker felt like a heartbeat. The squelch would click once, sometimes twice, then silence again. Behind us, the LMTV hauled recovery gear, tow cables, block chains, jacks, and portable lighting rigs. We had an EOD specialist riding with them, just in case. Not because we expected a fight, but because anything stolen from a military site could be rigged or trapped. On the last radio check before losing cell coverage, Command reminded us of our standing order. No live engagement unless fired upon. We were operating inside U.S. borders, which meant everything had to be by the book. By midnight, we had passed into the ridgeline proper. The trees leaned over the road, forming a tunnel of wet branches and fog. The rain came and went in thin sheets. The tires hissed on the pavement. I cracked my window again, trying to stay alert, and that smell, wet earth and diesel, was stronger now. It was the same smell that lingered in old motor pools and tank trails after a week of training. Only here, it felt heavier, stale. We reached a small junction where the road forked toward an abandoned coal facility. The GPS showed no record of the road, but local maps confirmed it used to connect to a rail spur that ran west toward a decommissioned mine. The captain's voice came over the net, short and clipped. We were to check that route. It didn't make sense. If the thieves wanted to vanish, they'd move toward the interstate, not deeper into the mountains. But that's where the orders sent us. We switched to night vision. The road narrowed, forcing the LMTV to slow to a crawl. I logged the time and counted the next grid coordinate out loud. The squelch clicked once, sharp in my ear, then cut off. I remember thinking how quiet everything was after that click. The kind of quiet that makes you second-guess what's waiting ahead. By the time we reached the old coal spur, the rain had turned into a steady curtain. The road narrowed to gravel, and our tires threw mud up against the wheel wells. The headlights caught pieces of rusted rail poking through the brush. It was clear nobody had used this road in years, yet the tire tracks ahead were deep and fresh. Whoever moved that tank came this way. The spacing between the ruts told me they had a heavy trailer, wide axles, maybe a 5-axle lowboy. It matched what the missing transport could handle. Our convoy halted near a rusted sign that read, "Mine Access Road 3. The letters were faded, but you could still make them out through the mist. I stepped out and felt the cold air fill my lungs. The smell of wet leaf mold was thicker here, stronger than before, mixed with that constant hint of diesel. I listened for anything beyond the hum of engines, but all I heard was a low wind pushing through the trees. The radio gave a soft click in my ear, then silence again. We checked the map. The road wound into a network of old mining paths and rail switchbacks. Half of them weren't on any GPS overlay. That's what made Appalachia difficult for tracking. There were miles of forgotten routes, some collapsing, others repurposed by locals for storage or dumping. Perfect cover if someone wanted to hide heavy equipment. Command had shared limited intelligence before we left. A few unconfirmed reports pointed to a small group operating in eastern Tennessee, ex-military, involved in black market sales of surplus gear. It sounded like rumor until now. The idea that they could lift a tank without being seen felt organized, not random. It meant they had access, time, and skill. The rain softened as we advanced deeper into the hollow. The road widened near an old loading yard. Concrete pads cracked with weeds, rusted conveyors half sunk into the dirt. The ground was slick, but I could see faint tracks veering toward a slope behind the main building. They were too clean for being old. The EOD tech, Vargas, took a closer look and confirmed the tread marks matched tank pads. The spacing was exact to an Abrams. The tank had been offloaded here. We spread out to search. Haynes and I checked the control shed. It smelled of oil and wet dust. Empty racks, a few torn manuals, nothing else. The generator in the corner had been stripped for copper. I found a cigarette butt still dry under the windowsill. Someone had been here recently. The rain hadn't touched it yet. Back at the vehicles, the team leader made a call to command. Static, partial transmission, then the line cut. We were too deep in the ridges for stable contact. Our orders were to continue reconnaissance until sunrise or until we found proof of the tank's route. I noted the time, 0230 hours, and logged our coordinates by hand. The map grid was tight here, but I counted the squares out loud to stay centered. Counting helped keep my focus. One small routine when everything else was uncertain. We drove another mile, the headlights tracing fog into long white beams. The LMTV groaned behind us, its diesel smell filling the air again. The squelch clicked twice in quick succession. Haynes turned his head toward me. He heard it too. It wasn't one of us keying the mic. The pattern was off, like an open line. Then it stopped. We reached the end of the mapped road where the gravel gave way to a muddy turn circle. Beyond that was a dark opening in the hillside. A mine entrance, framed with timbers. A chain hung across it, old but recently moved. Mud tracks led straight in. The rainwater pooled around them, faintly tinted with oil. The EOD tech took a sample. Diesel runoff. That smell was everywhere now. I looked into the opening. The dark had depth to it, like a tunnel that went on for miles. The beam of my flashlight cut only a few yards in before it disappeared into blackness. The temperature dropped, air colder and heavier. If a tank was hidden anywhere, this was the place. We decided to stage until first light, keeping security tight and lights low. The mine was too dangerous to enter without proper clearance. Still, as I sat in the Humvee and listened to the steady rhythm of the rain, I couldn't shake the sense that someone else was still moving deeper inside that mine. The radio gave one soft click, the kind that made you hold your breath. At first light, the fog hung low in the valley, pale and cold. The mine entrance looked smaller in daylight, but still deep enough to swallow a tank whole. The rain had stopped, leaving the air thick and still. We gathered around the map hooded over the Humvee's engine. Mud streaked our boots, radios checked, rifles slung low. The plan was simple. 2 of us would move forward on foot, check the entrance, and look for signs of activity inside. The rest would secure the perimeter and set up the tow rig in case we found the tank close enough to pull. I took point with Haynes. We moved slow, scanning the ground. The mud showed wide tread marks tank width, clear as day, but the pattern stopped about 15 yards into the tunnel. The walls were lined with support beams, old timber with iron bracing. Drops of water fell from above, echoing off the stone. The smell hit again, that same mix of leaf mold and diesel, thicker than before. Inside the tunnel it felt trapped, heavy. I keyed my mic. "Entrance clear so far." The squelch clicked back once. That faint, familiar sound made the hair rise on my neck. We moved deeper, another 10 yards. Then we found fresh footprints, human, not boots from our team. Smaller size, flat-soled. Someone had been moving in and out recently. We stepped back outside to update the team. Vargas, the EOD tech, was kneeling by a set of steel plates stacked near the wall. He said they were fresh cuts, heavy gauge, likely armor salvage. I checked the edges. No rust, clean torch marks. Somebody was working metal here. He pointed out burn residue and a few broken welding rods scattered nearby. Whoever took that tank wasn't hiding it. They were modifying something. We decided to search the area around the mine. About 100 meters downhill, we found a half-buried generator. Diesel-powered, still warm. The fuel lines were new. There was a drum of red dye fuel beside it, half empty. I looked at the label. Commercial grade, meant for off-road vehicles. The same kind used in tanks. The LMTV crew called out from the far side of the yard. They had found a piece of tread link lying in a ditch. It was bent but identifiable. The marking matched an Abrams pattern. I bagged it and marked the grid in my log. Another number to count. Each grid square felt smaller now, the counting tighter. We regrouped. The captain on the net ordered us to continue reconnaissance, but not to enter the mine fully until backup arrived. He mentioned a possible connection to rail thefts in the region, armored scrap, and steel shipments disappearing from yards at night. The patterns suggested coordination. This site could be part of a larger route. We decided to secure the entrance overnight. Motion sensors placed. A small perimeter set with trip flares just in case. By mid-afternoon, the fog returned. The temperature dropped again. The woods around us were quiet except for the drip of water and the soft click of radio squelch in our headsets. Each click came at odd intervals, never matching our calls. Around 1700 hours, we heard a distant rumble. Not thunder, not wind. A low mechanical sound from somewhere beyond the ridge. We climbed up a slope and looked toward the next valley. Through the mist, we caught sight of something massive moving between the trees. At first, I thought it was construction equipment, but then the silhouette showed a turret. It wasn't our tank. The turret was different, older shape, maybe stripped down. It moved slow, engine deep and steady. No markings, no lights. It disappeared behind the ridge before we could get a clear look. I keyed the mic again. Static. The squelch clicked once, then held open for 2 seconds before cutting out. We returned to camp in silence. None of us spoke much after that. Seeing that shape in the valley changed the tone of everything. It meant there was more than one vehicle, maybe a whole line of them hidden in the hills. That night when I lay in the Humvee trying to rest, the only sounds were the ticking of the cooling engine and the radio clicking every few minutes. I kept counting those clicks just to stay awake. By dawn, the fog had thickened again. Haynes was already up, staring at the mine entrance. He said he heard movement during the night metal clanging, maybe from deeper inside. We checked the trip flares. None had been triggered. Whatever was inside, it hadn't come out. I looked at the dark tunnel again. The smell drifted out faint but constant, diesel and rot. I couldn't tell if it was just residue or a live engine. Either way, it meant the story wasn't over. By noon, backup was still hours out. Command wanted us to hold, but we couldn't just sit there while something that heavy was moving in the valley. The captain on the net approved limited exploration inside the mine. We took 3 people, me, Haynes, and Vargas. The others stayed topside, keeping security and comms. The first 30 yards inside were narrow. Old support beams leaned inward, and the ground sloped down slightly. The light from the entrance faded fast. We switched to night vision goggles and moved slow, rifles up. The beam from my light caught markings on the wall, fresh chalk numbers. Coordinates, maybe, written in quick, rough strokes. I counted them as we passed. 42, 44, 45. Then they stopped. Whoever had been working in here used a system. Further in, the tunnel widened into a chamber. That's where we found it. Not our missing tank, but what looked like one stripped bare. Just the lower hull, no turret, no engine deck. It sat on wooden blocks, sides burned from torch cutting. Around it were crates, stacks of spare track pads, and metal racks holding armor plates. Someone had turned this mine into a workshop. Vargas scanned the area for wires or traps. Nothing explosive, just scattered tools, welding masks, and a portable generator humming low. The smell of diesel was strong enough to sting. It mixed with that same wet earth scent from outside, now thicker and sour. The air was heavy with heat from the running generator. We shut the generator down and listened. For a long minute, all I heard was dripping water. Then a faint sound came through the tunnel, metallic, steady, like a chain dragging across concrete. It echoed from deeper inside. Haynes looked at me and I nodded. We followed it another 20 yards. We reached a turn where the tunnel split. One path went upward, narrow and dry. The other sloped down toward a glow. I saw reflections on wet rock, light flickering, maybe from a machine. The squelch clicked in my headset, 3 short bursts, then silence. Our comms were breaking up again, or someone was transmitting near us. We crept closer. Around the bend, we saw a faint orange light ahead. It came from another generator, larger, powering a set of halogen lamps. Under those lamps sat another tank. This one was intact, turret-mounted, engine idling at low RPM. I recognized the shape immediately. Our stolen Abrams. The back panels were open, exposing wiring and diagnostic cables running to a laptop on a workbench. Whoever was operating it had left in a hurry. The screen still glowed with maintenance software I had seen before, standard for authorized crews. Someone on the inside had supplied it. No way civilians could access that program. I approached the tank slowly. Its engine coughed once, then steadied again. Warm air and exhaust mixed with the smell of diesel, filling the tunnel like fog. I could hear the faint hiss of hydraulics. The vehicle wasn't abandoned. It was being prepared for something. Haynes climbed up and checked the serial plate under the fender. It matched the missing unit exactly. I radioed command, but all I got was static. The squelch hissed open, then stayed that way. No voice, just open air. Vargas began pulling cables from the tank, trying to disable the ignition feed. He froze mid-motion when a metallic clang echoed from behind us. We turned fast, lights cutting across the walls. Nothing there. Then a second sound, heavier, like a door slamming shut somewhere deeper in. The air shifted. You could feel it, pressure changing as ventilation stopped. Someone had sealed the outer gate. The generator lights flickered. Haynes whispered, "They knew we were coming." We pulled back to the main chamber, moving fast but careful. The mine's sound carried everything: our steps, the clatter of loose stones, our breathing. When we reached the entrance passage, the faint light from outside was gone. Only darkness. A steel gate had been pulled across the mouth of the tunnel. Chains locked it from the other side. We tried comms again. Nothing. I switched to shortwave emergency band. All dead. The squelch gave one last faint click, then silence. We set up a small perimeter near the stripped tank. If anyone tried to come through, they'd meet resistance. The air was stale, thin. The diesel smell lingered like smoke. Vargas checked the oxygen readings and said we were fine for now, but not for long if the pump stopped running. We waited, rifles steady, eyes on the dark ahead. Hours passed. The sound returned. The slow drag of chains somewhere deeper in the mine. It stopped, then started again. Rhythm broken, like someone was moving heavy equipment by hand. When I checked my watch, it was near 1900 hours. The backup was long overdue. No radio, no cell, no exit. We were sealed inside with a live tank, a generator, and whoever had set this place up. I kept counting grid points in my head just to keep calm. The numbers steadied my breathing. That night, the lights flickered once more. Then a new sound cut through the dark. An engine, deeper and louder than before. It wasn't the tank we found. It was something larger, moving below us, under the rock. The noise came from somewhere under the floor. Deep, steady, mechanical, like gears turning inside the rock itself. Dust drifted from the ceiling with each vibration. The stripped hull beside us shook slightly on its blocks. Haynes crouched and pressed his hand against the ground. He looked at me and said, "There's a tunnel below us." We moved toward the rear of the chamber. Behind the crates, we found a metal plate covering what looked like a shaft. It had been welded shut in places, but one corner was freshly cut. The marks were clean, new, not old mining scars. Whoever worked here had access to heavy tools in time. Vargas pried the edge open with a crowbar. A rush of cold air came up, thick with diesel and oil. The smell hit hard, stronger than anything so far. I leaned over and shone my light down. There was another level beneath us, not natural, reinforced with concrete. We could see a ramp leading downward, wide enough for a vehicle. Someone had carved out an entire lower floor inside this mine. That explained the sound. Something was running down there. We debated whether to go down. Our orders were recovery only, but sitting idle wasn't an option. The gate behind us was locked, backup delayed, and we were already compromised. Haynes called it, short recon, in and out. We clipped lights to our vests and started down the ramp. The sound grew louder with each step, the low pulse of an idling engine echoing through the air. At the bottom, we found what looked like a secondary workshop. Floodlights lined the walls, cables running from a large generator that hummed like a heartbeat. And in the middle of the chamber, there it was, the stolen Abrams, running, turret-facing a makeshift rail platform. A flat car sat on the tracks, half-loaded with spare armor plates. The tank's engine idled steady, warm vapor curling from the exhaust. No crew in sight. The laptop from above was mirrored here, another terminal connected to the vehicle's systems. Diagnostic screens filled with code. Someone was uploading or rewriting something in the control unit. Vargas checked the wiring. "They're not stripping it," he said. "They're prepping it." The realization hit all of us at the same time. The tank wasn't stolen for parts. It was being modified. Maybe for testing, maybe for shipment, maybe for something worse. The rail spur behind it led into a larger tunnel, one that connected to the old main line outside. If that line was still functional, they could move this tank anywhere undetected. I circled to the side and found another hull behind a curtain of welding tarp. Not an Abrams. Older, smaller, but heavily modified. No markings, new armor welded on, a patched turret ring. It looked like a hybrid, something built from salvaged parts. Whoever ran this operation had knowledge, equipment, and precision. Haynes scanned the walls. Maps and photos were pinned up, satellite shots of rail yards, supply routes, and depots. Red circles marked several locations across 3 states. Some were near National Guard storage sites, others along commercial freight lines. The scale of it was larger than a local theft. We heard movement, then footsteps on metal above us, faint but close. Someone was up there, maybe sealing more exits. The lights flickered once. The hum of the generator deepened. I tried radio again. Still dead, only static. Then the squelch clicked once, slow and drawn out. A voice followed, faint and broken. I caught only fragments. Hold position, not authorized. Extraction, then nothing. We froze. The voice wasn't from command. It used the wrong format, wrong phrasing. Someone else was on our frequency. Someone who knew it. Haynes leaned close and whispered, "We're not alone down here." That was when the far tunnel lights came on. Bright white beams flooded the space, and in the glare I saw silhouettes. 3 figures near the rail spur, one of them holding a rifle. They weren't wearing uniforms. The nearest one shouted something we couldn't make out over the echo. Then the generator spiked and all the lights went out at once. The only thing left was the rumble of the tank engine in the dark, steady and alive. When the lights died, the tunnel went black. The engine noise filled every corner, rolling through the rock. We switched to night vision goggles, but the green glow only reached a few yards ahead. The 3 figures were gone, melted into the dark. I could hear metal boots scuffing on concrete, short bursts of movement, deliberate and quick. Vargas moved toward the generator, trying to shut it down before the tank became mobile. Haynes covered him, rifle steady. I scanned the far end of the chamber, tracking the sound of footsteps. Then came a voice from the shadows, calm and close. "You shouldn't be here." It wasn't shouted, it was spoken like a fact. The accent was American, quiet, sure. I aimed toward the sound. "Identify yourself," I said. No answer, just the echo of my own voice. The tank engine revved once, then settled back into idle. Whoever was running this knew the machine inside out. Vargas pulled a breaker, and the generator died. The lights cut again, total black. For a second there was silence. Then a smaller engine turned over somewhere deeper in. We heard chains clank, hydraulics hiss. Something big was being moved. We retreated toward the ramp, keeping the tank in view. The glow from its exhaust cast faint light across the floor. I caught a shape near the rail platform. Someone climbing up, hauling a duffel bag. Haynes sighted in but didn't fire. Rules of engagement held us back. No clear threat, no shot. I called out again. Still nothing. The person ran toward the rail tunnel, disappearing into the dark. I moved to follow, but Haynes stopped me. "We need to secure the tank first," he said. He was right. If that machine rolled, none of us were leaving. Vargas climbed onto the rear deck, cut the power to the control unit, and disconnected the main fuel line. The engine coughed twice, then went quiet. The silence that followed was thick and unnatural. The air tasted of burned diesel and dust. My hands smelled of it too. It stuck to skin like tar. We started back up the ramp. Halfway up, a faint light appeared ahead, small and moving. For a second, I thought it was sunlight from the entrance. Then it stopped and turned toward us. A flashlight beam. Someone was waiting at the top. We raised our rifles. "Friendly, identify," I called. The light didn't move. Then it blinked twice. That was a signal. Short, long, short. The same pattern used by our own radio operators during blackout training. Whoever was up there knew our procedures. Haynes and I froze. He whispered, "They've got our codes." Before we could react, the beam went out. Total dark again. I could hear shuffling above us, then the metallic snap of a bolt sliding home. The gate we came through slammed shut once more. Chains rattled, locked from the outside. We were sealed in again, and this time whoever had done it knew we were alive. The squelch on my headset gave one soft click, then a voice faint and mechanical. "Do not pursue. Hold position until retrieval." The line went dead, no call sign, no authentication code. I looked at Haynes. That wasn't command. He nodded slowly, jaw tight. Vargas whispered, "Then who the hell has our frequency?" We didn't have an answer, only that this wasn't a theft anymore. It was a network, organized, equipped, with access to systems that should have been locked behind clearance walls. We pulled back to the lower chamber to regroup. The stripped tank sat in the shadows, silent now. I noticed details I had missed before: stenciled numbers on the side panels, each with different origin codes. Some were from depots across several states. This place wasn't just hiding one stolen tank. It was assembling many. Files scattered on the workbench told the rest of the story. Purchase orders under fake company names, rail permits, bills of lading tied to abandoned freight lines, a shipment scheduled for the next week, destination blacked out. We photographed everything. I counted each folder as I packed it into a bag. 12 in total, each one marked with a red stamp, each one linked to something larger. Somewhere above us, faintly, the generator started again. The air moved, pushing diesel fumes through the tunnels. The smell came back, heavier now, almost choking. I could feel the vibration under my boots. Whatever was happening outside, it wasn't over. We had enough proof that this wasn't a local job. The theft tied to a larger ring, maybe even foreign-backed. The stolen tank was just one piece. The mine was a hub, built deep enough to keep any signal from escaping. I keyed the mic again, trying to reach anyone. Only one sound came through, the slow, deliberate click of squelch, repeating at even intervals. One click every 10 seconds. A pattern. Someone was counting too. We waited in that underground silence, the air thick with diesel, the echo of engines below us like distant thunder. The mission had changed, even if the orders hadn't. We weren't just here to recover a tank. We had stepped into something much larger, something that was never meant to be found. The air in the mine turned heavier by the minute. Diesel smoke rolled down from the upper tunnels, curling into the lower chamber. My throat burned with every breath. Haynes called it first. We had to move or get trapped by carbon buildup. The ventilation fans weren't running. Whoever was running the site had shut them off. We gathered what we could, maps, photos, the folder bag, and prepared to push for the gate again. Vargas rigged a charge from his breaching kit, small enough to cut the chain without collapsing the frame. We moved back up the ramp in darkness, flashlights hooded, rifles ready. I counted each step. 52 to the first landing, 80 to the gate. Counting helped keep my head straight, one number after another through the noise of my own breathing. At the top, we saw faint daylight leaking through cracks in the metal. That meant the outer doors hadn't been sealed completely. We placed the charge, stepped back, and covered. The pop echoed sharp and clean. The chain broke, and the gate shifted just enough to pull free. We forced the doors open, the hinges groaning. Outside, light hit like a flare. The fog was thicker, carrying the sour smell of wet leaves and diesel. The mine yard looked different. The LMTV was gone. The second Humvee, too. Only our lead truck remained, stripped of its radio mount. Tracks in the mud showed the other vehicles had been towed out. We swept the area. No sign of the other 4 men. No sign of a fight either. Just silence. Then I saw movement near the tree line. Figures watching us from the ridge. 3, maybe 4. No insignia, no light gear. Faces half covered. They didn't fire. They just stood there, motionless. Haynes aimed, but held his trigger. He said quietly, "They're not militia." Look at their stance. I saw it, too disciplined posture. Not amateurs. Whoever they were, they had training. The radio crackled once, then came a clear voice. "Recovery team, stand down. Site secured. Exit the area." It was our frequency, but not our command tone. I asked for verification code. None came. The voice repeated, "Stand down." Vargas looked at me and shook his head. We knew what that meant. Someone was trying to push us off before we could bring evidence out. We loaded what we had into the remaining truck and started down the slope. The fog thickened so fast we could barely see past the hood. The road twisted through the trees, mud slick under the tires. I kept one hand on the dash and the other on the rifle stock. At the bottom of the valley, the road split again, one way toward the main highway, the other toward the rail spur. The rail line ran parallel to the river, mostly abandoned. The captain's last transmission had mentioned checking that spur. I decided we'd make one final sweep before extraction. As we approached the tracks, the air filled with that deep vibration again. It wasn't thunder, it was engines, more than one, idling close by. We cut the headlights and coasted the last few yards. Through the fog, a shape emerged, flat cars lined up, tarps covering something large. Floodlights flicked on suddenly, blinding us. A group of men stood near the tracks, maybe 10 of them, working fast to secure the load. 2 wore reflective vests, like contractors. The rest carried rifles. On the nearest flat car sat the stolen Abrams, chained and ready for transport. Another hull, stripped and patched, sat behind it. The whole train looked like it was about to move. I keyed the mic. Visual on target, multiple contacts, armed, rail line active. No reply, only static. Then that same voice from before came through again. "Disengage. You are not cleared for further action." I ignored it. We had visual confirmation. Haynes turned the truck sideways, using it as cover. Vargas armed the flare gun and loaded red smoke. We needed visibility for any air support, still tracking our beacon. He fired it high. The flare burst above the trees, bright and steady. The men by the train froze. One of them shouted something. The engine on the flat car roared to life. They were trying to move the train. Haynes opened the door, stepped out, and aimed at the coupler chain. I joined him. We fired 2 shots to break the link. Sparks flew and the metal snapped, leaving the rear cars stranded. Shouts erupted across the yard. Someone returned fire. Short bursts hitting the gravel near our tires. We dropped behind the truck. I could hear rounds hitting the side panels. Haynes keyed his mic again, calling for backup we knew wouldn't answer. Then the roar changed. The tank on the flat car started moving. The turret turned, slow and deliberate. It wasn't manned. It was remote. The barrel leveled toward us. "Move!" I shouted. We ran for the embankment as the main gun fired. The blast tore through the fog like a hammer, the sound bouncing off the valley walls. Dirt rained down, and the truck flipped halfway onto its side. My ears rang, nothing but dull thunder in my head. We scrambled behind a boulder. Haynes grabbed my shoulder, shouting something I couldn't hear. I saw his mouth move. He was pointing toward the mine entrance. Over the ridge, a column of armored vehicles was rolling out. Not tanks, but modified transports, the kind used in construction or heavy freight, covered in plates and tarps. Someone had built a convoy right under our feet. I could smell diesel thick as syrup. My vision blurred from the smoke. The radio squelch clicked in long bursts now, mixed with static, like someone keying open lines on purpose. The sound pulsed with every engine rev. I counted the rhythm, 3 seconds between clicks. Then it evened out. We crawled toward the ditch for cover as another shell cracked open the hillside above us. Mud and rock cascaded down. I lost sight of Vargas. The air turned white with dust and smoke. Somewhere ahead, the sound of the train couplers clanging together echoed like a heartbeat. The convoy was moving again. I gripped the side of the hill, forced my breathing slow, and said to Haynes, "We can't stop it here." He nodded once, silent. The mission had turned from recovery to survival. The valley shook with the echo of that first shot. The sound stayed in my chest like a heartbeat that wouldn't slow down. The fog turned brown from smoke and dust. I wiped my face and scanned for movement. The rail line ahead was alive, floodlights swinging as the convoy pushed toward the main spur. The tank on the first flat car was still idling, smoke pouring from its exhaust. Whoever controlled it was guiding it by remote signal, steady and precise. Haynes pulled me toward a drainage ditch that ran parallel to the tracks. We slid down, mud soaking through our sleeves. He whispered, "If they reach the main line, they're gone." He was right. Once that train cleared the ridge, we'd lose it for good. We moved along the ditch, staying low. My headset gave one faint click every few seconds. The pattern hadn't stopped. Someone was still on our frequency, counting in rhythm. It wasn't random. Each click lined up with the movement of the tank's turret. Whoever was controlling it was using our open comms as a trigger link. I switched channels and got only static. Vargas came back on, voice weak but steady. "I'm alive," north side. Got eyes on the rear cars, relief hit quick, then passed. He said he could disable the power feed if he reached the generator near the switchyard. I told him to go. Haynes and I would draw attention away from him. We climbed out of the ditch and moved along the slope, cutting toward the far end of the yard. I could hear the clatter of chains and the hum of engines blending together. The smell of diesel was thick enough to taste. My lungs burned from it. We stayed low, rifles ready, every shadow moving like a figure. Then a truck engine roared to life near the tracks. 2 men climbed in and started reversing toward the train, trying to reattach the coupler we had shot free. We couldn't let them. Haynes sighted in and fired 2 rounds. The truck stopped short, tires spinning in mud. The men dropped behind the door. No return fire. They were retreating. I moved closer, using the noise of the engines to cover my steps. The ground vibrated as the tank shifted on the flat car, its turret swinging again. I counted the seconds between each move. 4, then 3, then steady 2-second intervals. Someone was testing the controls, adjusting the signal. Behind me, Haynes radioed, "Vargas in position." I looked toward the generator shed at the far end of the rail line. I saw him there, crouched low, pulling cables. Sparks flew as he cut through the main line. The tank's engines sputtered once. The lights flickered across the yard. Then another voice came through our headsets, clearer than before. "Step away from the vehicles. This area is under restricted control." It was the same tone as before, calm, official, no identification. Haynes muttered, "They're military, or pretending to be." We didn't answer. Vargas shouted, "Now!" and threw the switch on a breaker panel. The generator blew out, smoke rising through the fog. The floodlights died. The sound of the tank engine stuttered, then stopped cold. For a few seconds, everything was still. No gunfire, no shouting, just the soft crackle of burning diesel and the clicking of cooling metal. I could hear my own heartbeat through the headset. Then, through the fog, a single light appeared. Headlamps from another vehicle rolling in fast from the East Road. Not local police. Military convoy. Matte green. No markings. The lead vehicle stopped just short of the yard. A man stepped out, wearing a plain jacket over fatigues. He walked straight toward us, calm, no weapon in hand. "You're out of your zone," he said. His voice was firm but quiet, like someone used to giving orders that didn't need explaining. "We'll take it from here." Haynes asked for identification. The man didn't respond. He only looked past us toward the rail line, where smoke still drifted from the dead generator. Within minutes, his convoy spread across the yard, 2 trucks, 1 loader, and a flatbed crane. They worked fast, methodical, covering the tanks with new tarps and cutting cables. It was clear they had done this before. I tried to raise command again, but my radio gave nothing. The squelch clicks had stopped. Just silence now. The man turned back to us. "You've done your part. Report to your unit and file recovery complete." His tone left no space for argument. Haynes stared at him but didn't move. Vargas stepped out from behind the generator, mud-streaked and breathing hard. He said, "This isn't a recovery. This is a cover-up." The man didn't react. He nodded to one of his crew, who started backing a flatbed toward the rail line. "Leave now," he said. "You won't be called again for this detail." We stood there watching as they chained the tanks and loaded them one by one. The fog swallowed the sound, turning it distant and hollow. No one spoke after that. We walked back to the remaining Humvee, slow and silent. When we reached the main road, I looked back once. The lights from the rail yard had vanished and the valley was dark again. The only thing left was the faint smell of diesel still hanging in the air. I counted the mile markers as we drove, 1 every few seconds. Each one took us further from whatever that place really was. By the time we reached open highway, command finally answered. A calm voice said the mission was complete. Recovery successful. No further details required. I didn't reply. I just watched the fog fade in the mirrors and listened to the steady hum of the engine, waiting for the radio to click again. It never did. We reached base just after dawn. The trucks rolled through the gate silent, mud-caked, lights off. Nobody spoke. The air inside the cab smelled of damp fabric and burned fuel. I had counted every mile back, all 142 of them. It kept me grounded. At the debrief, we were told to write short statements, nothing detailed. The officer reading them never looked up once. He said recovery was confirmed. The tank was secured by a specialized unit. Case closed. No mention of the rail line, the convoy, or the men in unmarked vehicles. When I asked where the rest of our team had gone, he said they were reassigned. No forwarding contact. That was the end of it. Every question I tried to ask met the same phrase, "Not in your lane." They collected our helmet cams and communication logs. The drives were signed out by a civilian contractor I didn't recognize. After that, every trace of the mission disappeared from the task board. No file number, no record of where the tank went. Haynes left for medical leave a week later. He said he kept hearing the squelch click in his sleep. Vargas stayed on base, helping maintenance crews, but he stopped talking about the mine. He said he could still smell diesel in his clothes even after washing them 3 times. I reviewed my field notes one last time before handing them over. 12 grid references, 44 photographs, 3 hours of recorded radio static, all boxed, labeled, and gone. The final report summarized it in a single line. Equipment recovered, mission concluded, no hostile contact. I knew that wasn't true. We had walked into something built to stay hidden. Whatever that unit was, it wasn't local command. It wasn't militia either. It operated quietly under full control and then vanished. The night after the debrief, I sat outside the barracks. It was raining again. The same smell in the air, wet leaves and faint diesel. I closed my eyes and heard that single click of squelch, soft and even. That sound meant the story wasn't finished. 2 weeks later, a sealed memo arrived in my inbox. It listed new procedures for armored vehicle security, GPS units replaced, access keys reissued, guard shifts doubled. The order came from higher command, but no one signed it. I asked a logistics officer if he knew where the recovered Abrams had gone. He just said, "Not here." His eyes told me not to ask again. Haynes transferred out soon after. Vargas was reassigned to another base. The rest of the names from our mission vanished from rosters. It was as if we had never deployed that night. One morning, I drove back toward the valley. I wanted to see the mine again. The road was blocked by new fencing, fresh concrete, and a government hazard sign. No mention of mining or rail, just a number code. The entrance was welded shut, seams still shining from recent torch work. I got out of the truck and stood there for a minute. The air was cold, still, clean. No sound, no diesel smell, just silence. I counted to 10 out of habit. Nothing stirred. When I turned to leave, I saw new tire tracks on the shoulder. Heavy tread, same spacing as a transport truck. They led up the road and vanished into fog. The story ended there, but the pattern never did. Equipment moves, records vanish, files close without names. Every time it happens, the same signal appears first, one soft click on a dead radio channel. That sound means someone's still out there, still moving steel through the dark. Years have passed, but that night in the Appalachians never left me. Every few months, I hear about another equipment relocation or unauthorized shipment in some quiet region, always closed fast, always forgotten. The details change, but the silence after stays the same. Sometimes I still drive those mountain roads. When the fog sits low and the air smells of wet leaves and diesel, it all feels close again. I find myself counting the mile markers without thinking. It's a habit I can't shake. One number after another, like keeping time with something I can't see. I never learned who took that tank or who cleaned up the site. The files stayed sealed, and the people who knew anything stopped talking. Maybe that was the point. Some operations aren't meant to end. They just move deeper underground. The radio in my truck still has a faint hiss when I turn the dial past our old frequency. Every few seconds it clicks once, soft even, like someone out there is still listening. Don't turn off your lights yet. If you like the video, hit like and watch the next amazing horror story showing on your screen.